Got it.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Word with Ty Brownlow. I am your host, Ty Brownlow. Remember, no one is worthless. No story is worthless. Today, ladies and gentlemen, man, y'all already know how I do. Man, my guest tonight is joining us from the best coast, the left coast, all the way from California. Man, please put your hands together for Mr. Anthony Rucker. How are you, sir?
I'm good, but I gotta admit, the best coast is the Midwest coast. Those in the middle. I'm from Cleveland, so I live out here, but I got to rep my city. So
okay, well then you know what? Hey, well,
hey, but it's nice and warm out here with palm trees and beaches, so I ain't knocking.
Okay, now as your fellow Midwestern brother here in Chicago, I do concur. The Midwest is where it's at. All right. It's just I mean, it ain't even up for debate, y'all. It's just what. But anyway, but no, man, brother. Look, so many things I want to talk about here. Okay, so let me just let people know. Okay, because yes, I am being formal, calling him Mr. Anthony Rucker, but goes by another name, ladies and gentlemen. Don't let that smooth taste fool you now. Okay, all right, don't let it fool you. Okay, because Anthony Rucker is AKA the Boogeyman.
That's me.
There you go. All right. Look, I just told y'all what it is. Don't ask me, ask your mom. All right. Anyway, moving on. But brother, look here, man. You are a poet, author, but one of my favorite things is a mental health professional. Okay. Right now, I believe you're in your
I'm a doctoral intern. In other words, I'm doing my clinical hours right now.
Right. To become Dr. Anthony Rucker, aka the Boogeyman.
Yeah.
Boom. Okay. I want to start with mental health because this platform is pretty much dedicated to mental health on all forms. It doesn't matter financial, relationship, what have you. You know, mental health affects us in so many different ways. But I just want to ask, what started your journey in mental health?
Actually, man, college. So what happened was we had a brother who was working at a group home, a boys home, in Cleveland. I forgot what the road it is, but it's in East Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, listen, I got a big brother, little brother program. And we used to be called the Brew Crew. We used to hang out. I didn't drink, but I was part of the Brew Crew. Drink, play spades, and all that after school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and doing classes and stuff. So he was like, listen, I got a big brother, little brother program. I'm not looking for people. All y'all got big brothers. All y'all big brothers, you're going to pick your little brother. So he had a cookout, and we hung out, and we chose our little brothers. And so we adopted them. You know, we would run with them. They would take them places, do stuff with them. And then I liked it so much, I said, yo, man, I want to get a group. When I turned 21, I'm like, I want to work at the group home. Because, you know, I always worked through college. I didn't have, all the money in the world, so I'm paying part of my way. So I got in it, but to maintain as a child care worker, you had to do so many credits in continuing education in psychology, right? And so I was a computer science and math major, but I always worked in mental health from the beginning. I just liked it. And it's just one of those things that stuck with me. Even when I was living as an artist full time, I would do stuff on the side in mental health. And then it would just up the ante. I went from a child care worker to I was working at a psych unit for kids, and I was I ran a couple units at a girls' home for parenting and non-parenting, and it just kind of followed through. What really got me is when I took Psych 101. I was figuring out whether I was going to do psychology or I was going to do social work. And then I got into Psychology 101, and they were talking about id, ego, and superego, right? Which, the typical Freudian stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm a person like this. I believe in synthesis. So I want to find out how everything ties together. So forget just one thing. You tell me one thing, I'm like, okay, but what does that mean for this, that, and the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they were talking about id, and if you're id-driven, you're this, you're that, you know what I'm saying? You can't survive being ear-driven. Went through all of this stuff, right? So my mind just started clicking. I'm like, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Raised my hand. I asked the teacher, I said, what if people were ear-driven for like centuries? Like 400 or 500 years. And that was the basis of their existence. That was the focal point. And everybody, whether they did it or not, they benefited from it and they let it go. And they just literally were just ear-driven people. He said, well, that would be a sick people or people who are mentally imbalanced who you need to study, you know, to figure out. So then I asked another question. I said, was slavery ear or ego driven? And he paused. So if he says ego or super ego, I'm gonna have your job. So he says the only thing he can. He said, ear driven. I said, so based on what you're saying, America and the forefathers are a sick group of people who were driven by their urges, who need to be studied and figure out how they. I'm not saying that. And then the other black kids said, oh yeah, that's what you said. That's
you just said that. Yeah.
Like, so then he was just like, no, you're just trying to cause trouble. I said, no, I just want to know. And so everything that he said, I took and analyzed America with it, to the point where for the rest of the semester, he wouldn't call on me. Matter of fact, so then other black kids like, write down what you want to say, And I wrote down what I wanted to say, and they would ask their questions, and he'd be like, I'm not answering that, you've been talking to him. So literally, I was blackballed from participating in the class for the rest of the semester. Because every time they said something about a psychosis or a dysfunction, I applied it to American history. And so he said, I'm just a rabble-rouser trying to cause trouble. And then that's when I realized that psychology wasn't just for white people. Like I grew up, I thought psychology was for rich white kids who didn't know Jesus and parents wouldn't spank them, you know? And so I realized like, wait a minute, the reason we don't like psychology is because how it's being used against us, not how it can be used. So after that, I wanted to know everything. And then I grew up in theater, and I was always amazed how people could cry and move based on stuff they knew weren't real. And ever since I found that out, I always studied people, but that wasn't in a mental health profession per se. It was just, I wanted to know how people tick. So take that I've always studied and experimented on people since I was 16. I've been doing social experiments on people's emotions since I was 16. Then you introduced me to psychology. I was like, well, shoot, let's get married. You know what I'm saying? Next thing you know, and as poets, we're unlicensed psychologists any damn way. We think we know what makes the world work and how it works. So they just came together, and then I just kept going. I did the bachelor's, then I did the master's, then I did the doctorate. Thank God there ain't nothing after that. I'm done. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I'm good. But what I did, and people always bugged out, they're like, whenever we do something, like any assignment I got, from undergrad to doctorate, I always catered it toward understanding the psychology of Black people. I wanted to know how it affected us then and now. I wanted to know why there weren't studies done. So everything that they did, they were like, okay, look up this and how it manifests. I would look how it manifests to Black people. I made myself a Black psychology expert because I literally just, every assignment I did, I found a way to tie it to the existence and function of Black people. And they're like, you always do stuff about Black people. I said, I know. It's on purpose.
Well, let me just ask this question. You know, how many well-known Black psychologists are there?
You said they're well-known?
Well-known. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I know them. I know this Frances Cress Welding. I think she's one of the most. Naeem Akbar was one of the most known too. Then, let me see, known.
So
you got Mamie, and Kenneth Clark, the ones who did the doll experiment.
Right.
I'm thinking one that people know. Said well known. Oh, I don't even want to mention his brother's name, but we're gonna skip him. Okay, I won't skip him. Dr. Umar.
Okay.
You know, but you said well known.
Yeah. I'm just talking well known because
but that's about it.
You're right. So let me stop you there. How many well-known European psychologists do you know?
Well, I mean, every approach that we have, you can name somebody. Rogerian, you got Franz Perls with Gestalt, you got Ellis with REBT, you got Beck with CBT. I mean, like you got the Freudian with the Neo-Freudian. I mean, we can keep going there. You got
we're going to keep what's coming. All right.
Adlerian. So you got Adler. So yeah, we could, and then you got Jungian, which is collective conscious. Yeah, we could go through that. You see, I could rattle them off.
Right. Well, but see, that's the point I'm making. So when someone asks, well, why you always talk about, psychology in the form of Black people? Well, you just answered the question right there. We need more of us out here for us, Yeah. So look, I ask this question all the time, and I always get mixed answers, but I'm gonna present it to you. I talk about representation when it comes to counseling, and I feel representation matters. You know this just like I know this. There are cultural differences, okay? Period. All across the board. In certain cultures, they don't believe in psychology, like it's just not their thing. So when I tell people, when I ask people, do they think cultural competency is important in therapy? Sometimes I get, well, no, it isn't, as long as a person's effective, it really shouldn't matter what color they are. I get it, and I understand, and to a point, yeah, you are correct. But sometimes I get the other end.
I don't get it.
Okay, so let me explain the other part first, and then I'm gonna say this, okay? Then I get, okay, well, yeah, it does matter because, man, I need somebody who can, relate to like certain nuances that are not verbal, like it could just be a look, it could be a sigh, it could be this, that, and the other. I need someone who understands me on that level so I can connect with. So now let me go back to the other part. When people are talking about, well, as long as they're effective, it really shouldn't matter. There are some great psychologists out there, okay? And, Black, white, what have you. And sometimes sometimes a client may go to a psychologist that's not of their background or what have you. And they can go through therapy. They can go and, maybe they're looking at things through rose-colored glasses, green-colored glasses. It's just not a black and white thing. So to them, yeah, that may work. They don't necessarily have to be or look like me in order for me to see them. That's just my view on it, okay? Doesn't make it right. That's just my view, okay? Other people, totally, man, they don't feel that way. I need somebody who can relate. I need someone, man, that no matter what I talk about, if I'm talking about the stress of being a Black male, well, me sitting here talking to a white person, they're not really going to understand that. Personally, I just really feel they don't have enough empathy. Personally, that's just me. But yeah, I personally feel a white man can't give me my perspective. An Asian man can't give me my personal perspective. They can give a perspective, being a minority in the country or what have you, but it will still be different.
Yeah, you about to get me in trouble with all my peers, but I don't care.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, bro.
No, don't apologize because I don't mind. I don't mind being the bad guy, right? So let's just break it down clinically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cultural competence is now a professional requirement. So forget what everybody's saying. Well, I don't think it should. It doesn't matter. The new standards of ethical treatment says that you should be familiar and understand the population that you are treating.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna give you some concrete stuff why.
Okay.
But let's talk about the minimization and the dismissal of the importance of African culture and people of color. If I said to a gay couple, I don't have to know what it is to be gay. I don't know what it is to have to be ostracized for being gay. If I know how to deal with depression, then you should come with me and I'm going to help you get through your depression. And it doesn't matter that I don't understand what it is that you being gay or this, that, and the other. You should come to me because I'm good at depression. Or could you imagine someone who's been, a Holocaust survivor or related to it? And I say, it doesn't matter that you went through the Holocaust. It doesn't matter that I understand anything about the Holocaust. I am a trauma specialist. And therefore, you should come to me and trust me to treat your trauma. And even if you have trauma specific to the Holocaust, you should throw that away because my general knowledge about trauma should be enough for you. And as long as I get you through part of your trauma, you should be all right. What about if I said that to a woman? I don't need to know what it is to be a woman in this country. I know what it is to be a minority and oppressed. So I don't have to know your struggle. I just have to know how to deal with the struggle you're going through in the context of the greater. You've been oppressed, you've been objectified, you've been dismissed, you've been minimized. I know what that feels, so I don't have to know what it is to be a woman. I don't have to know what it is to be anything about a woman. I still can counsel you as a woman because I know what it is to be marginalized. Which one of those do I still have a job? Yes, but you can tell Black people it does not matter what you've been through. It doesn't matter the specificity of your struggle because I know how to deal with the specific dysfunction, anxiety, panic, or whatever. I don't need to know you. I can just treat you and that's good. But what if I was a doctor and I said, listen, I'm gonna save your arm, but it's gonna cost you your leg. Are we still cool?
No.
So imagine this, and see, this is where you have to get into the truth of the matter. When they were looking at how inner city children were being diagnosed, they realized that they were diagnosing with all these personality disorders and dysfunction. But then when they did a phenomenological study, and that just means you actually go into someone's environment and then you look at them, they realized that all of the negative characteristics that they were trying to get rid of in the office were all the positive characteristics that kept them alive in their neighborhood. So once you got rid of those, it made them fodder and it made them victims in their neighborhood. If they practice what you preach, they'll be dead in their neighborhood tomorrow. So they realized that these weren't personality traits, these were survival techniques. But because they weren't in line with proper behavior, that politically correct etiquette, that socially or scientifically proven behavior, you don't need to be hypervigilant. Come on, you from Chicago. I used to live outside Chicago for 8 years. There was Cabrini, there was the South Side. If you weren't hypervigilant in either one of them jokers, we talking about you in past tense today. See what I'm saying? If they say don't conform, let me tell you something. My brother was at a concert doing the Earl Flynn. Four Corner Hustler said, we don't dance like that here, bro. And my brother, I dance how I want to. Then he looked to find out he was surrounded. Then he started dancing like this. But if they say, oh, don't conform, don't bend to society. Yes, you do when your life depends on it. So if you don't understand these nuances that are life and death, that are about security, that are about survival, that are about how you survive, how are you going to counsel me? You're going to counsel them out of me. And then when I'm dead one day, you're going to be like, what happened? He was such a good kid. He was such a wonderful man. Or if you get fired from your job because that edge is what keeps you competitive, then all of a sudden, how did you get fired? We worked so hard. No, you work so hard on your theory. A lot of mental health professionals, psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers, they are book smart and people dumb.
Say it, brother. Say it.
And so they treat you by a theory instead of by your life. And then people are like, well, it looks good on paper. Well, when you date paper, when you live in a notebook, tell me what looks good on paper. Otherwise, what looks good on paper is only valuable if you live in a notebook or you date a piece of paper. Other than that, you have to deal with the person. Then check this out. They talk about IQ and all this other kind of stuff.
Right.
It is proven, it is now considered known that when you are under pressure, when you are under threat, when you are worried about your life, it lowers your IQ.
Mm-hmm.
And scientifically, we should know that, because when you're under stress, you start releasing certain chemicals in your body.
Mm-hmm.
Glucocorticoid steroids. So when steroids and stress steroids get released, you know they shut down stuff, right? See, if I need to fight, I don't need to do calculus. If I need to fight, I don't need to reproduce. If I'm about to fight, I don't need to go to the bathroom. If I need to fight, I don't have to worry about my emotions, right? So what happens is when these stress hormones get released, they start shutting down the parts of your body that are not needed for what you're about to do. So you got fight, flight, or freeze. So what happens is when you're in a constant state of stress, it shuts that down. It was an old study, I don't know if they did a new one, but there was a study that found at one point that 80% of all physical illness can be linked to stress, and 60% of all physical illness can be cured with placebo, which means if you thought you was getting better, you would get better, which means that the sickness was in your thought, your processing, and your behavior, and not in your body. And it's been proven in mental health and medically that your emotions can shut your stuff down. Do you know there's over 21 to 25 emotional peptides that are connected to your digestive system, which means you can work out, you can eat right, you can do everything you're supposed to, but if you're emotionally messed up, you still ain't going to the bathroom. You still ain't passing nothing because your emotions are messed up. Your emotions can tear up your liver, they can tear up your kidneys. Your emotional dysfunction can destroy any part of your body.
Okay, I just want to pause right there because that is very, okay, and I had a friend that passed away a couple of years ago, and when you talk about emotion and things of this nature, come to find out he had cancer, didn't tell anybody, all right? But listening to what you're talking about, how, like, man, look, I don't know who said this line, but there's a rap line that says, crack kills, but stress will kill you quicker, okay? And I think about that a lot because, as you said, man, we can program ourselves to be sick. I see people do it all the time. I work in the healthcare industry, okay? I work for healthcare insurance. I see people every single day flip out over my personal view, small. It's not really that big. You're gonna go home, you're gonna do what you do, and you're gonna come back here tomorrow. You're gonna sit down at the same desk, you're gonna put on the headphones, you're gonna do all this other stuff, and you're gonna go right back at it. So why are we letting, what's going on now tear us down? And then, man, you're around here. Not only are you stressing yourself out, you're gonna stress out other people as well.
Yeah, so dig this. Do you know stress during pregnancy will do more damage than smoking and drinking? Stress is a teratogen, and that's something that can breach the embryo. So children with poor immune systems can be linked to mothers in high stress. Stress limits the amount of oxygen that gets in. So sickness and stuff in a baby, asthma in children is correlated to stress in the mother. See what I'm saying?
Okay.
Oh yeah, so we talking about you shouldn't be drinking, you shouldn't be smoking, and then when she's stressed out, you got to understand. I understand that stress is doing just as much damage as that liquor and that smoking. So are you talking about the right of the mother or the safety of the baby? Because all of them are dangerous. So this is what happens when we start normalizing things that shouldn't be normalized. Drinking shouldn't be normalized. Smoking shouldn't be normalized, and stressed out mothering should not be normalized.
Thank you.
It should be an environment where that woman can feel safe, can feel nurtured, feel provided for, So she has an atmosphere to bring the baby into it. Stress can cause premature births. So the thing about it is, our hierarchy is some bull crap. The way that we like, oh, this is important, this is important, all of it is important. There's a saying, and I want everybody, all Black people, listen to this. It's an Eastern philosophy when it comes to holistic medicine. The only place the mind, the body, and the spirit are separate are in textbooks. Period. Everything that you do, and they found this out. This is medically proven that your emotions, your biology, and your cognition are two-way streets, or let's say highways, that connect to each other. So your emotions can affect your cognition and your biology. Your biology can affect your cognition and your emotions can affect your cognition and your biology. They all have equal effect. So everybody think it's a hierarchy. But they got this dude, the wonderful Phineas Gage. He was the beginning of study of neuropsychology. Had a pole go through his front part of his head, not the side. He survived. Now, before this dude was a model person. Great husband, great father, great worker, on time, punctual, this, that, and the other, considerate, empathetic. That thing went through his head and he lost it. And they could not figure out why. Because we had this idea that as long as you had a good spirit, you were gonna function. But that would be like saying, just because I got a good driver, if the tires blow out, I'm still gonna drive straight. No, because the driver operates inside the car. Spirit operates inside the body goes down. The spirit, unless it's a divine intervention, ain't making it do nothing that it can't do. So they found out, and this is gonna hurt your heart, y'all. I'm gonna say this publicly, but I'm gonna say it. This thing right here, this heart, it has some people say that it does have some effect on you. But scientifically, it's been proven that the right side of your brain is your heart. In other words, all of your emotions are processed in the right side of your brain, along with your creativity, your abstract thinking. So when people say, it's more like you got to get out of your head. No, you don't. Because if you get out of your head, you don't have any emotions. All your emotions are processed in the right side of your brain. So when someone says, I love you with all of my heart, what they're saying is, I love you with all of my right brain. I know that don't sound as sexy, but that's what they say.
Okay.
Well, that damage to your damage to the right side of your hemisphere actually prohibits or inhibits, depending on how the damage is, your ability to access emotions and be emotional. But then check this out. Studies have found that morality is tied to your ability to experience emotion. So the less emotion you experience, the less moral you become. So think what happens when you raise men to ignore their emotions, to constrict their emotions, to avoid their emotions, not to express their emotions. Guess what gets twisted in that? Our moral compass. How can you do that? Well, I was taught not to access my emotions and not to think with them or be affected by it. So if I'm not affected by now what I know is my heart, what else do I have except my mind and my motivations that ain't got nothing to do with my emotions? You create Frankenstein and then be mad that you got a movie.
You know what, brother? You just put a thought into my head. I used to work in middle school. And I just remember this one kid, he had got to the 7th grade and, he, for whatever reason, when he got to the 7th grade, it was just like, you know what, I'm just cutting out, and he was left behind, I want to say twice. So there were 2 classes that graduated, like, you still here, and these other, like the original class you were supposed to graduate with has already gone. And now the class you were set here with, they passed you up, and now they're about to graduate, and they're gone. and now you're still here. I remember sitting, man, this was like report card pickup, and I would never forget this. His mom comes in with him. They walk past me. Mom is, oh, hey, ha. Goes right up the stairs to see the teacher or what have you. Maybe 25, 30 minutes later, mom comes down the stairs. Kid is, man, maybe, 20, 25 feet behind. And, I'm like, well, okay, like, how was everything? You know what the mom said to me?
What?
Mom said to me, I can't wait till he turns 18 years old. Because when he turns 18, I'm going to throw him out.
Woo!
And let me just tell you, man, look, let me just, and it was right then and there that the light bulb came on. How everybody around here kept talking about, well, man, that kid don't listen, that kid don't do this, that kid don't do that, that kid don't da. But once I heard his parent say what they said, bingo, and then I just, man, it was a whole different perspective then. I was like, you know what? You're fighting a battle you don't know how to fight. Mm-hmm. And that's very unfortunate that you're in this position, because you really shouldn't be in this position. You should be doing other things, that other kids that your age are doing. And I just remember towards the end of the school year, he had to go to summer school. Never showed up. And I often think about, maybe not like now, like, what is this kid doing? Hopefully he's turned his life around. Mm-hmm. I hope he has, you know what I'm saying? If he hasn't, well, man, I hope he, runs into the right guidance, and man, some way they stitch that moral fabric into him, and boom, he does that 180, and he goes out and becomes great. But so I just want to stay here for a second, because you have worked with you. You work with you, all right? Okay?
The first, 10, 15 years, I worked in group homes.
Okay.
Mental homes, actually a psychiatric unit for children. I mean, a locked unit where the furniture was tied to the ground. You couldn't get anywhere, go to the bathroom without a key. Had a barbed wire fence around it, like one of them.
Oh, no, I know.
Rubber room.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've actually worked at a DCFS family home, and we had those rooms, but on the outside of the room, they had that switch. And then as soon as you press that button, they can't get out that door. They're in that room. Which personally, I was like, I don't know if this is making the situation better or worse, but.
No, it ain't. Because the thing about it is, I relegated that I'm not doing anything that I wasn't in, right? So our rubber room was more crazy than that. Once the door shuts, you can't get out, and if you don't have a key, you just stuck in there.
See.
And so what happened is, I opened the door with the key, let myself in, put the keys in my pocket, and I was in there for 5 minutes like, yo, I got to get out of here. Like, and I got the key, and I was tripping. But it's a legitimate rubber room with an unbreakable mirror, so you can see everything. And once you go in that joint, we can keep you in there for a half hour without your permission. And then we have to let you out. But then if you acted up again, we can put you in there for another half hour. So let me tell you something. If it didn't help a brother who had a key.
Okay. So no, for real. Let's talk for a second, okay? Let's talk for a second, real quick, because I've worked with you. You know what I'm saying? You've done it on a professional level. I've done it on a school level. But last weekend, I don't know if you heard, man, because every time you look up, Chicago's always in the news for something. But there were a lot of teenage kids downtown at the lakefront. All right.
Okay.
And the mayor basically imposed a rule that stated that, hey, unless you're in the park after 8 or 9 o'clock, you have to be accompanied by a guardian or a parent. It was the weekend. It was beautiful outside. We had a beautiful night. Man, downtown was packed full of kids. Okay, well, teenagers. I shouldn't call them kids.
Yeah.
Teens. Okay, teens and young adults, young adolescents, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
So they're out there, they're doing their thing. All of a sudden, man, melee breaks out. You see a group of kids over here. They're like breaking stuff. People get injured, this, that, what have you. So it makes the news. So of course, if it makes the news, it's on social media. And unfortunately, we live in a digital world. And one of the first things we do as soon as we wake up in the morning, we grab this. If we ain't going to use the bathroom, we grab this. Sometimes we grabbing this and going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But man, so you scroll and you see the melee that happened downtown by the lakefront. And then you see, if you're in like certain like chat groups or whatever, you see these people demonizing these kids. Oh, the youth today don't know nothing. They They this, they that, they this, they that, they this, they that, they this, they that. And then someone comments and, along the lines that, well, what were we like when we were kids? You know what I'm saying? Like, not everybody may not have been doing that per se, but you was doing something. And you were hanging with certain people that were doing things that probably wasn't like church-like. You know what I'm saying?
Dirt ain't new.
Man, come on now. Come on. But like when I hear people, man, just like bashing and this, that, and the other, like, like the youth of today, what are your thoughts? Do you really think that there's a generational gap? I don't personally believe in that word, but do you think that there's a gap between like the youth of today and I guess everyone else?
I think it's an empathy gap. And I think it's psychological preservation. Everybody want to talk about how messed up kids are, but they never want to talk about who messed them up. See, a kid learns to shoot from hearing somebody else got shot. And I guarantee at one point, there wasn't a child who was shooting a gun. They learned that robbing is an option because they saw somebody robbing, but every person on this planet goes through a stage in life where they're old enough to process stuff, but too young to ever carry it out. You don't have 7-year-olds robbing stores. But check this out. Because we want to be clinical. So, studies showed, and these are older studies because I'm doing my studies, that at one point, 7-year-old children in America could tell you the prescribed and proscribed roles by gender with 100% accuracy. So dig that. At 7, they could tell you what a woman was supposed to do and wasn't supposed to do. What a man was supposed to do and wasn't supposed to do with 100% accuracy. Check this out, and this is just across the board fact. 60 to 80% of everything we believe in is solidified by the time we're 6-year-old. Some people would argue 8, but the consensus is 6. So 60 to 80% of everything we believe is in there by the time we're 6 years old. So if they're robbing them at 13, they learn to rob at 6. Where they learn to rob from? If they learn to cuss folks out, and that's part of what they are, they probably learned about it before they were age 6. Where they learning from? If they learn that, women are whores and men are pimps, where they learn that from? I taught preschool. You can't lie to me. In a preschool room, I saw preschool girls doing Little Kim and Foxy Brown videos, acting them out verbatim. So you can't tell me when this preschool girl becomes a hoe in high school that her parents have made her a hoe in preschool first. You see what I'm saying? So and it's like this, and this will kill you. It was a Muslim child in my classroom. I'm 6'2.5". So, during playtime, kids are on the ground. So 6'2.5", that's a lot of real estate. So you're just looking around for anything that's moving funny, right? So I'm walking through the room and I hear sipping on gin and juice. And I'm like, oh, okay. Now I'm like, so I'm looking like I'm checking the radio. No, we ain't got nothing. Radio is cool. Like we ain't doing. And I'm walking through and I go sipping on gin and juice. And I'm like, where is that coming from? Because in preschool, everybody got a high pitched voice. So you don't necessarily know what's going
right. Everybody got one voice like.
I was like, where's Waldo? I'm like, who the hell? So what I did, I'm walking through and I'm staring at the ground. Because now I'm trying to fit, it's like trying to find that needle in the haystack. So I'm walking around and I see a kid in a kufi sipping on gin and juice. Hey, and I ain't gonna say his name, like, yo. Where'd you hear that song? On the radio. Where were your parents when you listened to the radio? Any other room. You can't sing that song in here. Why not? It's age inappropriate. So then literally as a preschool teacher, I'm sending home letters and I'm in the suburbs to parents saying, watch what your kids listen to and watch because they will be punished for inappropriate behavior in my classroom. Now check this out. I'm teaching preschool and I got girls who know Foxy Brown and Little Kim by heart, and a Muslim child who knows the words to gin and juice. But then when they get older, we're like, them reprobates. Well, we left out them reprobates we made. Them hoodlums we made. 60 to 80% of everything they believe is set by the time they're 6. Who are they around in 6? Their family and their social unit. You made these crooks. You made these criminals. But you don't want to say that because then you want to take responsibility for it. You don't want to take responsibility for it. And then they're like, they're reprobates. No, it's not. I've not met a person on the planet, criminal or saint, who aren't working for basic things. Food, shelter, belonging, well-being, happiness, and comfort. And what we don't seem to understand is that we operate by our perceived options. And so if you put a man in the jungle, he gonna become an animal. You put a man in the church, he gonna become a saint. You put a man in the politics rate and you keep him there and you surround, he gonna be a politician. They're gonna do whatever it takes to survive. So this is a real question you need to ask. What did we do to our children that they think the only way they can survive and get comfort, happiness, belonging is criminality and hoeing? Because we created that. We did that. We created an environment where they thought there was their own option. And don't listen to me. What did Biggie say? To get out of the hood, you got to have what? Crack rock or a jump shot.
Jump shot. Right. Come on.
And he didn't come up with that by himself. Even Dick Gregory said, listen, when you got a little teenage kid who robbed somebody wearing the mask, where'd they learn that from? TV. Oh, when you rob people, you wear black and you put on a mask, and this is how you do it. You know how many children have learned criminality and the perfection of it through TV? Do you know how detrimental it is to teach children who have nothing by showing them criminals who are successfully taking a whole lot and getting away with it? And then they're sitting up here, okay, I got to go to school, I got to get financial aid, I got to do this, I'm going to be racially profiled, I might get shot by coming home, all this other kind of stuff. And they get overwhelmed, but then they see somebody robbing or smash and grab, and they got it all in high def color, showing them like, but you could do this. We teach this junk. We perpetrate it, we put it out, and then when the world becomes what we made it, we get mad and look at the world and say, how could you do that to yourself? We make our children.
Well, to go back to something that you said in the beginning, I think you were talking about ego, super ego. Let's start with that ego. Because for real, like at the end of the day, that's all it is. Man, well, no, I wasn't like that, or I didn't raise him to be like that. Well, yes, you did. Yes, you did. Whether you did it intentionally or unintentionally, yeah, you did. You know.
But understand, I'm speaking in form of a collective.
Okay.
I'm not talking about just individual parents, because there's some individual parents that are good at being individual parents, but are terrible being community participants. So in other words, if all they did was live in your house, you would be great, but they walk outside. So what? You made your house perfect. Think about this. Your house is the Garden of Eden and your community is Beirut, and you expect them not to turn into killers? If you're not walking out the door spreading that Eden into that Beirut, you are part of the problem. Because you are allowing your neighborhoods to be Beiruts. There is no child that turned a hood into Beirut. They inherited it. But we ain't talking about who they inherited it from. When I moved to Chicago, I moved from Cleveland to outside Chicago in Wheaton. They were shooting when I got there. Every day on the news, somebody got shot, stabbed, mugged, or hurt in Cabrini Green. And guess what? The kids my age didn't do that. We wasn't buying guns. And so guess what? So now if you were a kid, and you remember this, where you got to go to school with a bulletproof backpack and a bulletproof hat. And then all of a sudden, when you get older, you now the one shooting and the reason they need it. And they say, how you, well, like, you wasn't saying that junk when I got shot at. You wasn't saving the neighborhood when I was the target. And now that I've become a product of my environment, you want to tell me how terrible I am. And I'm gonna say this, and y'all get mad, I'm a parent. I've never seen terrible children without terrible parents, no matter your intention.
Come on now.
It's like this. And like I said, your place could be heaven. You can have the best intentions in the world. You can surround them with everything. But if you're not doing that in their neighborhood, how many people go to school in their house? How many people go to the movies in their living room? How many people go on dates at their parents' house? See, we are nurtured in the house, but we live outside. And we think by taking care of the house, we've done everything. No. My kids know when my kids have a problem at school, even though me and their mother are divorced, we there together. And I'm the calm one. She's the off the hook one, but the reason, this is a terrible thing about her. She is third generation teacher. She is an administrator out here. So she knows all the laws. She knows all the in and outs, which means if you are violating something, she knows to get you set down. So I tell them like, listen, I'm the calm one. So you're going to deal with me. And if you don't deal with me, you don't deal with her. And guess what? I got her back. I'm just here to make peace. If we don't get peace, then we make war. I'm the peacemaker. She the war maker. And guess what? We in this together. So when we walk in schools, they're like, oh, hell no. We got a therapist and a teacher administrator. And we like, listen, we'll burn this joker down. And we literally said it because we're going through some stuff. We like, listen, not that our daughter's more important than anybody in here. But if our daughter ain't happy, ain't nobody gonna be happy in this school. If my daughter ain't safe, this place ain't safe. Period. And we had to go in there on that because they were trying to do the kumbaya and everybody come. And we like, listen, kumbaya is good. But if this girl come home crying one more time, there ain't nothing you gonna do that's gonna save this place. And we ain't gonna tear it up like bombs and threats. We know how to systematically take this joker and strip it down for parts. And if you're not doing that in your neighborhood, if you're not walking, because what kills me, especially when I was in Chicago and the east side of Cleveland, people like, oh, these kids are off the hook. We said kids, right? That means they came out somebody's vagina. They came from somebody's sperm. That means they got relatives. So yeah, they'll shoot me. But you telling me if they mama, they daddy, they uncles, they cousins and stuff came around and said, listen, surrounded them and said, you got to stop or go through us, you think they're going to kill their families? You want to jump to end in Chicago? Y'all do this. I've been saying this since I was little. All y'all, not just 4 y'all, 15 or 20 of y'all. who you know your kids are acting up. You walk around them and say, we will support you. We will do whatever we need to do to make your life better. But you ain't gonna sell in this neighborhood unless you kill all of us first. How many of them people gonna kill their entire families to sell drugs? And check this out. If your entire family surrounds you and say they're gonna support you, why would you need to sell drugs? See, we gotta quit talking about these kids like they don't come from places. We talk about these kids like we don't know who none of their parents are. I told my kids, like, listen, I got your back no matter what, but I'll whoop your ass if I need to. I'm like, don't be out here playing. Me and the mother, we agree with this. We more dangerous than anything you're gonna run into. So when you acting in fear, the first two things you should fear is us. Because we got legal access to you, we got privacy. We can do you in the privacy of our home, ain't nobody gonna know. Make another one look just like you. Be like, he's on vacation. He'll be out in 10 years. Wait till they get to your size. Go adopt somebody that look like you.
Wow.
Well, we let them know that, listen, we love you. But, and I had to tell my son, like, listen, you've been coddled. Like, you ain't got whooped like I got whooped. You ain't got, like, half the stuff you said to me would have not been a conversation. You would have been minus some teeth. You would need a bridge by now.
Bro. Come on.
And I said, and I told him, I said, and you bucking. And you know I'm not gonna put my hands on you, but you 6'1", you look at me in the eye, you don't understand what you're doing, but you gonna walk up on me the wrong way, and you think by your size you got something. I'm gonna do stuff that you can't stop and you gonna wish never happened. So you gonna get it together now, or you gonna get it together later, because now you're past the point of being cute and a kid.
Right.
You're 16, if you walk up on people, they looking at you like a man. And you got to learn how that posture is. And so I tell them, like, yo, dude, this is the way it works. And I don't care what you say. I don't believe, come on, we've known some killers. I haven't known one killer that wasn't looking for love. I ain't known one killer that wasn't looking for comfort. I don't know one killer that if you gave him $1 million and said, listen, you straight, who gonna say, no, I'm gonna kill anyway? I mean, word? What's the catch? Because ain't nobody ever gave him anything. That's why I get mad at Trump and all these people talking about, well, we need more police. They didn't get that way because there weren't enough police in their middle schools and their elementary schools and their preschool. They got there because there wasn't enough consideration to protect them for what they were. And so y'all don't believe me? Y'all try this in any hood where you say it's out of control. Find all the kids who are doing the dirt. Get 15 to 20 of their family members and have them walk around and do a love circle. And let them know that this ain't to harm you or to keep you from making money. This is to say we're here to provide you with another option. Because this is the thing about it. I'm sorry, I'm getting too clean, but this is the thing about it. Check this out. When people get drunk, when people take drugs, clinically we say that is their defense. They're doing it because they can't handle something. They're trying to get away from something. They're trying to process through something, right? Okay. So what happens is, I had a patient say, why is my family member drunk, this, that, and the other thing? I said, nobody I know wakes up and say, hey, what do you want to do? Like, when I turn 30, I'll be the best drunk in the city. Now I'm gonna get so drunk, ain't nobody gonna get drunk like me. Matter of fact, and I'm gonna be a drunk for the rest of I don't hear people saying that. They're like, well, why don't they stop? I said, because they are decompensating for something. There's something in life whooping their ass. And the only way they are making it through is that drink. So when you tell them to stop drinking for you, what you're saying is how their drinking affects you is more important than whatever's whooping their ass. So in psychology, we tell people no matter what they're doing, you don't take away their defense until you help them develop another. So I told the patient, I said, find somebody in your family member's position. Find some literature, a book, whatever. Start giving them resources. After you give them resources, then ask them to stop. About a month and a half later, they came in and said, I asked them and they said, okay, they'll try. And they've been telling people go to hell for 30 years. I said, because you showed you care more about how the drinking and the pain was affecting him than how it was affecting you. So you can't tell me these kids are out here incorrigible. And the reason they ain't listening to you is because they don't believe you. You ain't got nothing you trying to give them. You have no other option or means of them getting what they want, but you're telling them to trust you and listen to you and stop. Why should they? They ain't got a good reason. Why would I take answers from somebody who failed the test? Why am I gonna take advice from you about how to save the neighborhood when you're who I inherited the neighborhood from?
Come on, man.
And don't get me wrong, I love my people. But understand, I'm from Cleveland. And I was part of a group called Black Watch. And anybody in Cleveland Black Watch should know, we were the brother in the rows with the koofies, with the sticks. And I witnessed between us and FOI, we cleaned out entire neighborhoods. And let me tell you something, this is how one of them happened. I kid you not. 55th and Woodland, all my Cleveland people like, woo. So 55th and Woodland, brothers was dealing. My godfather said, Omar Ali Bey said, we got to clean this out. Because it was right across the street from the Denise McNair Center, which was the headquarters of Black Watch. He said, we can't tell everybody we cleaning up neighborhoods, and our neighborhood is messed up. And the block was hot over there. So we said, we're going to clean them off the block. Now, all we got is robes and staffs. We wasn't carrying guns. And he walked up to these dudes and he said, listen, let you know and everybody else know, from this day on, there will be no more selling or drug activity on this block. And they're like, yo, man, how you know we won't kill you? He said, I don't. How you know we won't shoot you? Or when you come back tomorrow and shoot you, he's like, we ain't gonna kill you. He said, I don't. But you know what he said?
What?
He said, I know people are gonna die on this street every day until there's no more drugs. He said, tomorrow the dying will start. Tomorrow, if one of us gonna be dead, but we ain't going away, there gonna be people coming, and we gonna keep coming till either y'all leave the block in peace, or either all of us are dead or all of you are dead, but this stops. And we came out the next day, and guess who wasn't there? FOI, they bought a store. They literally took FOI people and surrounded the block, put it in a circle, and was like, nothing's coming in here. And we lined up with them. Wow. And cleaned that joint out. But check this out. We didn't shoot nobody. We didn't kill nobody. We didn't harm anybody. What we said is, we would rather we work in peace. But ain't nobody over here afraid to die. Ain't nobody over here going anywhere. You're not gonna punk us, but guess what? We will not allow you to do this. But you are children. Now I was a child at the time too. But you know,
still.
And you are people, but we ain't allowing that. And we literally just cleaned out and I watched it because I didn't believe it. Because I'm like, well, one of us dying tomorrow, nigga. Like, we just like acknowledged to die. I'm like, this was not the plan. I'm like, I'm supposed to be in college. I'm trying to graduate. I'm like, tomorrow, I'm gonna get shot. So
I ain't signed up for this.
I signed up for this, but I signed up for my people. Right. And so what happened was we came out and they were gone. But he never downed them once. He never said, y'all terrible. He just said there will be no more drug selling. Never called them names, never belittled them, never said he didn't love them. What he said is, I love you enough to take you off the planet. That's what he said. And that was his thing. He said, you got to love your people enough to take them off the planet when they're doing too much. And he said, and you just love them. But you do everything in love. He said, if you kill them, you do it in love. You do it to protect them from themselves and us from them. He said, but you don't never do it out of spite or anger. And let me tell you something. People react when they know you love them.
Oh, they do.
So I don't care about them kids. Let me tell you something. You give me Oprah money, you give me Cosby money, you give me this, and I don't give a damn about a handout. I would walk them to the gangbangers and I say, listen, everybody who put down the gun, your family is taken care of until you get into college. And I wouldn't care if I gave away 80% of my damn fortune to do it. And how many people gonna say, well, no, you know, my sister, my brother, and everybody being safe ain't worth it. Literally, if you take all the black billionaires in the world and start going into these neighborhoods and say, listen, we will pay you to go from killing the neighborhood to be security for the neighborhood. And we will take care of your families, and in it, you will clean this joint up and you will make sure crime don't come in it, and we will make sure you don't have a reason to commit crime. Tell me who's gonna be like, no.
I don't know nobody that's gonna say no. But no.
And let me tell you something. I know people gonna say no. The people who say no are gonna be people who want to be rich and not just well off. And then those are gonna be the enemies, because you can be like, listen, see, everybody got a way to be okay, but he or she ain't gonna do it unless they got more than you. So what do we think about this person? And then that's how you point it out. Because if somebody gets mad at everybody eating, then they want to be the one serving the food. And that's how you separate it. This is very simple. You use tactics, and I'm a psychologist. There's all kinds of tactics to figure out how to do and set people up against each other. If I had their money, I would set the hood up against itself. People who want to survive and people who want to control the hood. And then I would evict those who want to control the hood to someplace else. You ain't welcome here. But this ain't a hard thing. The way that you stop people from hating is you love them. The way that you stop people from stealing is you give them no reason to steal. And if you think it is cajoling or rewarding ignorance or rewarding bad behavior to make your neighborhood safe, then you're too stupid to be free. If you say, oh, if to pay them and to get them to stop killing and doing that and living well, then we will be rewarding negative neighborhoods. Rewarding negative behavior. Let me get this right. You mean you would rather your neighborhoods be a war zone where negative people are punished than to be a peace zone where negative people are paid not to fuck up the neighborhood? Think about that. That's how much negativity and bull crap we are in. Where we think, and let's look at government. Don't governments pay off people? Hey, you know what? We don't like this regime. Let us pay you off. You knock them off and we're gonna make sure you all right and take care of you. So now we have a democratic or at least a sympathetic regime to deal with. We do that with governments all day. We do that with our people, and all of a sudden now we cajoling and man, dude, you hit a nerve with this, man. Excuse me, I'm on my soapbox.
Oh no, brother, because I was just about to say, man, the Belgian government and the U.S. government did it to Patrice Lumumba, and all they did was send a troop home to the Congo a couple of years ago as DNA. So, man, brother, yeah, I'm going down the rabbit hole with you because,
so that's what I'm saying. Anybody who says our kids are beyond reach are those who are at their wits' end for punitive punishment and refuse to consider love and support as an option.
Word. Thank you, brother. No, thank you. Because seriously, man, it's easy to criticize. It's easy to badger. When you ask people for solutions or what can we do, then it's crickets. I don't know. Somebody need to do something. Okay, so why can't that somebody be you? Or, hey, we're going to go out here and do this. Why don't you join us? Man, they ain't trying to listen.
But think about that. Think about what punk junk that is when we were growing up. Ain't no black man saying, I ain't talking to that boy. You ain't listening. When I was told, when you listen, hard head makes us soft behind.
Man.
Let me tell you something. My father loved us. I have no doubt that if there's love in the afterlife, my father is loving us right now. But when we got to a certain size, we were over his house, and he came out, he said, listen, y'all grown now. Y'all ain't men, but y'all grown, physically grown. And he said, and I'm too old to be fighting or playing around. So if you act up in my house and try to fight me, I'm gonna shoot you. You know I got a gun, you know you know where it is. Do we have any questions? No. Okay, cool. There was an old black man in the neighborhood, and he was on the corner with some bangers and some other stuff, right? And the dude was like, listen, man, you don't have to clean this up. And the little dude was like, well, dude, what do you think? You think you can take us? You think you can do it? He said, dude, just not an option. You have to clean this up. And then he said, so you think it's that easy? He said, no, bro. He said, it's like this. I'm a man, and I can't live in a neighborhood or a house where I'm not the authority figure. He said, so if I'm not the authority figure in my neighborhood or my house, I got to move. And he said, little nigga, I'm not moving. He's like, I am not moving. And he said, if you whoop me or take over this neighborhood in my house, I got to move. And he said, I like my house. I'm not moving. And guess what that little dude didn't do? Because he understood that the price tag that was just put on it was more than that joker knew how to pay or was willing to pay. I don't understand this stuff, man. At the point black men became afraid to die, the neighborhood became just anarchy. Like I remember growing up, old men would come out with like, get off this corner, I'll shoot you. And it wasn't no other words.
Yeah. But so
and you get a couple in the air and you're like, oh, okay, man. And they can shoot straight. And it wasn't an issue.
Look, man. High school. I remember high school. I remember it might have been my junior or senior year. We had a party at the school one night or what have you. Okay. Now it's toward the end of the party. You know, man, come on, dog. You know, people don't necessarily want to leave already. So we sit out there talking, talk. Man, some people in their car talking, this, that, and the other, right? So some of the kids that lived in the neighborhood, man, you know, one of them come walking up. It's like, yeah, look, y'all need to get up out of here. You know what I'm saying? Cause it's about to go down. Now, when he said it, we were like, yeah, whatever. But when this dude that he didn't go to the school, but all the kids in the school knew who this dude was, who was in the neighborhood, because he's known for banging. You know what I'm saying? Known for all this other stuff. He come rolling up. It's like, yo, y'all take y'all ass home. It's about to get popping around here. Within 5 minutes?
Like a cartoon with the basketball hitting the ground.
Man, dude, like all you seen was little tailwinds, you know? Like, man, folks was gone, you know?
Yes.
Pretty much, as you said, man, it's gonna be that person man, come on now. Like, this guy telling me this, yeah, I mean, I know you live around here, but you go to school with us, dog, you know, it could mean anything. But dude, who we all know that does not go to this school, all right, but he be up here for the basketball games, everybody know who you are. When you come around the corner and you're saying the same thing, and you put that emphasis on it, okay, we out. All right, You know what? I get it.
No questions, no nothing.
Man, you ain't, man, say less. Boom.
And see, that's the other thing. We act like that there's not a man or a person. Let me tell you something. Everybody got a person. Let's just, you know, I like playing with government. Look at the Republicans. The Republicans all used to talk major smack about what they wouldn't do, this, that, and the other. Donald Trump is tricking them jokers. If Donald Trump got up and said P was lemonade, they would say P was lemonade just to get him mad at him. And everybody sees all of these powerful politicians. He talk about their wives, their mamas, their family, imply that they were involved with government scandals from years back and murdering presidents. And guess what all of them say? He's a great man. Wait a minute. He called your wife ugly, said your father killed Kennedy, called you a liar on a regular basis and called you stupid. And your response was, he's a great man. And I'm supposed to respect you as a man or a senator or anything? So everybody got a person. But we acting like these brothers and sisters are out of control. Like there is nobody can reach them. So the only option is to wrangle them or kill them. Jail or death. That's what we act like. And they even heard others, these little homies ain't listening. I'm like, anytime a little homie wasn't listening, it's because the big homie talking to him, they didn't respect. You hear me? And like I said, I've been in situations, real situations, where it was one of the brothers and one of the dudes in the boys' home was gangbanging. He made a phone call. An entire car of young boys with guns pointed out the window came up there. And they were about to shoot the joint up. What he didn't know is that one of the dudes who used to be in there, the group home, came back to work there, and he made the little dudes. So they came out with their guns pointed, and my boy, I ain't gonna say his name, he walked out. And then when he walked out, the dude, y'all, you gonna get it now, they gonna get you. He walked out and you saw people going like this, like literally putting guns away, trying to hide them. And he said, you gonna shoot me? Like, you gonna shoot me? And they're like, don't let it punk you like that. They were like, do you know who this is? And they're like, no, I don't know who he is. He's some punk worker. He said, no, dude. He said, you know all the OGs that we serve, like our brothers? Like, yeah, that's his people. They're like, we'll shoot you before we shoot him. And they're like, and if we shoot him, we can't go home. And he said, listen, this place is off limits. Don't ever come back up here again. They apologized, put their guns in his bitch, man, gave him the finger and went away. Because somebody who they respected stood up for something and said, listen, you can't come. Because they were literally about to just dump on the place. And I mean, workers and kids alike. And the dude walked out, man, it looked like something off of Laurel Hardy. Man, they just stucking guns everywhere they could get. I mean, it's like, these fools is putting away gats, like trying to act like their hands is empty. Like,
but no, because, well, as you said, man, when you respect someone and you know what the consequence is, when you know what come on, man, when you know what's going to happen, I know if I pull this trigger at this dude and I put this dude down,
I can't go home.
I have to leave, bro. I can't come back to this. Like, I have to leave. Like, all of us are leaving because it's not about to be good. And we out here listening to you.
Yes.
For real.
And that's the thing about it, man. It's like, and I'm gonna say this, if anybody heard, y'all ain't unreachable. And even when you say you are, you ain't. You just ain't met anybody who loved you enough and who you respected enough to listen to you. Period. I ain't seen anybody who wanted to be saved who didn't react to being saved when it came to them earnestly. But you can't come at these kids with, they live in a war zone. You can't come talking peace talks if you ain't got the ability to do it. That's why I said, if you surround these kids, it's not to get them to stop selling and banging. It's to actually support them. We should have as many people on the street supporting these kids gang banging and slanging as we do who come to their funeral. If you would come to their funerals, you should come to their life. If you will miss them when they dead, you need to talk to them while they're alive. Because tears shed for the dead just makes for watery coffins. That's it.